Calling from a 502 area code. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
This is Danny from St. Louis.
Danny
Hello?
from St. Louis?
Yeah, Danny from St. Louis. How you guys doing?
Good. How you doing?
Well, I kind of wanted to draw a line between something Michael said a couple days ago and about the rehabilitation society.
Mm-hmm.
And with Thanksgiving coming up, I mean, isn't our ultimate goal to be like changing hearts and minds of our friends and family members to bring them over to the left and ultimately, like, I guess, rehabilitate them from conservatism? Does that make any sense?
Yes. I mean, I think, you do want to try and change hearts and minds if you have to go for Thanksgiving. But it's a long process. You got to just put small seeds.
You could always use a condescending tone of voice, like the guy who pretended to be in the military who called. The guy who started with, a lot of guys like the guy who pretended he was in the military and that I had the same thought processes as his co-fighters. You could always do that, the old bait switch.
Hey, I know a lot of people who worked for Papa Doc, and they agree with you, Janine.
Right. Well, yeah.
I have friends who work for Baby Doc, and they think a lot like you, Janine.
If you can use that tone of voice where you pretend you're going to say one thing, and you also pretend you're in the military and that you had these conversations with your fellow.
You won't get away
soldiers.
with that with your family, though.
You know,
They'll know.
Will they recognize your tone?
So.
Yes. Well, the guy who called and pretended he was in the military and that I reflected the same views as his fellow fighters who didn't want to talk about sexual harassment.
I mean, it's not really.
Fight.
It's not
you could
super
do that.
an issue for me. That guy that I am earlier. Like, I'm black and I also live in America, so I don't really know like a whole lot of conservatives like in my family. But when I go back to Kentucky, it does get weird, just because it's Kentucky.
I would imagine,
like seeing old friends and people that you haven't seen in years.
Yeah, it's so weird for me.
That's all I really had to say. I think
Get off the Democratic plantation.
I would actually say it's so interesting when people say that. I don't even know what it's like to have liberals in my family. Like that seems so strange to me when people say I don't have conservatives. I don't know what it would be like to have liberals.
There's not a
in my family. That's
conservative
amazing.
Contingency of African American people in this country. There is a huge contingency.
Well, so I mean, there's a difference.
Conservative white people.
Well,
go ahead.
There's a difference between Democratic and liberal.
Well, there is.
Yeah, exactly. So, my parents are super religious, and there are definitely some social issues that they're pretty stronghold conservative on.
Black people,
but
might
they also
overwhelmingly vote Democrat.
understand the right for a woman to choose, and they understand that they can't decide, that they have no power over who loves whoever else,
Well, it's as diverse as anything else.
They tend to be pretty logical about it, but at the same thing, you got to realize that the black church was one of the pivotal structures, of my parents' generation, my grandparents' generation, because I guess our government didn't provide any of those things. Does that make sense?
Yes. No, it's definitely true, and that also had a lot to do with LGBTQ issues for many years.
Yeah.
In the African American community.
Sure, yeah.
Community.
All right, appreciate the call.
But you're lucky, no conservatives. He's lucky.
Thank you.
He's lucky.
Hi, folks. Sam Seder here. We still need your help on our Patreon page. YouTube ads have come back, but not nearly as much as we had before. So if you can help us out, any little bit helps. Head over to our Patreon page right at this URL, and you'll help us keep helping you by making videos